I helped out so many comedians that I just didn't. I didn't see any of that stuff coming. I mean, like the Joe Rogan thing. Here's a guy who accused me of stealing jokes, but not his.
Yeah, you see that? Hear that cheering?
So that's never happened before in comedy, right? It's never happened where normally it's like, hey man, you did my joke. It's not, hey man, you do somebody's joke. That just doesn't happen in our business. It doesn't work that way.
So what do you mean by that? So how do you interpret
like if
that?
you're a comedian,
yeah,
and you think I did something or I think you did something, then we approach each other.
Okay.
But it had never been the case where somebody was accusing me that it had nothing to do with him.
Well, Carlos, I mean, I understand you were saying that, but to get a lightweight comedian to call you out on stealing his jokes.
But it wasn't his jokes, that's my point.
I get that, but what I'm saying to you is he was, to me, the way I see, like the way I interpret what Joe did, who is being bullied, and if a guy's being picked on and he's afraid of the bully, then I would come in to defend him to say, hey, what are you doing messing with Woody? Come and mess with me. So that's how I interpreted what Rogan was doing to defend the other guys that were afraid of calling you out.
Well, yeah, but there was no fear. I didn't have any power. I didn't. What could I do?
Carlos.
I didn't.
Come on.
Red Band.
Yeah, what's up?
What's up?
Not much. Actually, he not only just pulled that video, he had YouTube cancel my whole account, and I lost all my videos.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he's playing hardball, and he got Rogan banned from the Comedy Store.
Yeah, he did. I heard that.
How do you do that?
For what was the reason for your being banned? Because you were on their end of it. Like, what was?
Because we had made a video with me and Carlos arguing on stage, and then we put it online.
Oh, right. Okay.
So
I
they
kind of vaguely
decided
know
that
about all this.
this was, somehow or another in violation that should have been kept inside the club. And I'm like, you don't get it. You weren't protecting us. No one was protecting us. My fucking agent stumped me.
Over that?
Oh, yeah. Over that. Yeah, I was with Gersh. They dropped me.
Holy
They had to call me up to tell me. They essentially, in this long roundabout way, were trying to say that I either had to apologize or they couldn't work with me anymore. That was the gist of it. And I had to make them spell it out. Okay, let me say this really clear. You tell me if this is what you're saying. You're saying you want me to apologize or you can't work with me anymore. Well, we're done. There's no apology, and we're never going to work together. I appreciate everything you've done for me, and I was really nice to the guy it wasn't his idea, my agent.
Why did the agent take that stand? Did they represent him as well?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. All right, so they needed to make nice.
Well,
he
made way more money than me, so he was way more valuable to them, and so I'm like, you got to you sell art. That's all you guys do. Okay, you're not making anything.
Right.
You're just. If Mary Lynn comes up with a show, if this guy has a tour, if she's doing this or he's writing a book, you make money off art. That's who you make money off. Now here a guy's stealing other people's art, and your answer to that is we got to stop people that are exposing it.
He didn't even ask. He's like, yeah, he wants to do guest spot. And I'm like, dude, I would ask.
No. But can't you go, no.
I don't have that kind of power.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, I did. Well, I didn't feel at the time. Like,
you know what I would do?
They didn't go, hey, should we play?
I would be like, no, I'm headlining. Yeah. I know he's a big star or whatever at the time, but I'll be like, no. I mean, that's just not right. It's just there's a wrong and right, and I know it's about the bottom dollar, but it's like.
But I don't think he sells any at that. Listen, I get it for the club. At the time, it means like people go, oh, dude, Carlos Mencia popped in. At the time, that meant something.
And no one usually the one thing about comics, even though we hate each other, comics will rarely lie and say you a hack or you're a thief.
Right.
And you're not. They might go, nah, it just ain't. But it's been going on so long, and Rogan took a L a little bit for it. No one else stood up, but that's the way. That's the way the business is. It's like I would never martyr myself to stop Carlos.
No,
dude.
What power did I have?
What do you mean you don't have any power?
Did not have any power.
I mean, you're getting right into it. Of course you have power.
To do what?
Dude, I can tell you easily what you could do with your power.
To do what?
Okay, let me explain. So all the comedy clubs are owned by five guys, right? Pretty much. I mean, okay, is it fair to say that's owned by five? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to banking. Okay, if I want to buy a house, nowadays you're really getting a loan from 5 different banks. Maybe 20 years ago, different story.
Right.
You're going through 5 different banks today ever since things got nationalized.
Right.
You know, with what happened with, bailing people out. We
Right.
got to make sure B of A, Wells,
Right.
Chase, you know the names. Everyone knows the names. So if I'm a lightweight and I'm trying to come up, okay,
Right.
and if I say, hey, this guy's stealing my jokes, and if I say it to you, you get pissed off, you call one of those owners and say, hey, if that guy
owners wouldn't do that. Owners wouldn't do that.
Owners wouldn't do that.
Would not do that.
They
Would not do that.
They wouldn't protect you.
They
You
wouldn't
sell
protect
the
the
place
joke
out. They're
thief.
money
Nope.
guys.
Nope. They wouldn't do that.
Carlos.
They would not do that. They wouldn't. They have standards, man.
You think they're going to
Listen to
be
me.
capitalists?
I've recorded every single show since 1993. Every single show. Very rare exceptions.
Time.
I can actually tell you when I wrote a joke for the first time.
What I think happened to Carlos, man, is he never got into writing ever, like ever. He never got into writing, and I used to go over his house and I used to say, "Hey, man, let's write," and then we wouldn't write. I mean, I would be there with my pen, my paper, like, "Come on, let's write," and he just would do other things. He was one of those guys that would love to sit in back of the comedy club and watch other comics. And what I think happens, man, is subconsciously, whether you're trying to do it, whether you're not trying to do it, you're going to pick up material, man, which is like, we all have similar experiences as far as, everybody has a girlfriend, right? Or, or a boyfriend, whatever, man.
Yeah.
Everybody has a relationship,
Yeah.
Everybody has a car.
Yeah.
But I think if you sit in back of a club and you stay there for hours and hours, and you do it on Friday and Saturday, and then, but you don't write during the week, I think you're bound to sound like another comic.
So whenever I was approached by anybody, I would say, when did you write the joke? I still say that. Tell me when the joke was written. I could literally go check digitally. I've been recording the shows since 93, all right? So, and any time that's ever happened, all this stuff, it like goes away. Those accusations go away. If it was the way that you portray it to be, and there was a propensity to do it, there would be thousands of jokes, or at least hundreds of jokes on the internet of stuff that I did. The stuff that I accused of, that Ari Shaffir accused me of.
Dude, I opened for you and did that joke in the rooms you performed in.
I was doing that joke before.
No, you weren't.
Yes, bro.
Absolutely not. Here's this new thing. I don't know if you guys heard this. He wants to build a new wall all down the California-Mexico border. Like a 12-foot high brick wall. It's like 3 feet deep. So no Mexicans get in. But I'm like, dude, Arnold, who do you think is going to build that wall?
I propose that we kick all the illegal aliens out of this country. Then we build a super fence so they can't get back in. And I went, who's going to build it? That's the fucking joke. Do you really think that a Jewish guy came up with that joke before a fucking dinner date? Do you really believe that shit?
That joke was literally told by 10 different comedians on comedy specials. You know who's the only one who stole it? Me. That's just a fact. That's a complete fact.
What's your biggest frustration? Stealing jokes was happening. Okay, so what's your issue with it? Well, a bit is a joke, and when somebody is telling a joke, you have the premise, you have this, you have the tag, and when you're going through it, and here's what happens. So, why did the chicken cross the street? Well,
Right.
because of this, but because, here's what happened. Okay, here's what I want. So, but if you say it identically as that, and you don't give credit to the writers, that pisses people off. This is why the lightweight writers that don't have the platform that maybe Carlos has, why didn't he give credit to some of these guys? All he had to do was maybe like how do you say his last name?
Is it Jay Moore?
Yeah, Jay Moore, right? So you hear stories about, hey, look, I like these writers. I pay them $500. They write something for me. I get out there and I perform it.
Sure.
It's normal. It's okay, right? And then
that's paying for a joke.
That's no problem. You can do that.
Not a problem.
And then some of it came back saying, but Pat, this guy, the part that pissed off a lot of people was the lightweight comedians were frightened of Carlos because Carlos could shut down their career at that time. Because let me just finish. At that time when he's coming up, and when
yeah.
So Mencia goes, all right, man, I'll take you on the road. And my first year on the road was with Pablo Francisco, Freddie Soto, God rest his soul, and Mencia. And it was the Three Amigos tour. And for me, it was unbelievable. And that's when I first started hearing the rumors.
Yeah.
that's when Freddie Soto would go, bro, don't trust this guy.
Yeah.
Bro, watch what you tell him. Bro, and when you're a young comic, you don't know.
Right. Well, Freddie, too,
know.
I haven't talked about that yet. That, Freddie Soto was a great Latino comic who died very young a few years back. And it was, from what I understand, an incredible burden on him, the fact that Carlos seemed to be taking his material.
Yeah, it actually, Eleanor and I were talking about it the other day.
Eleanor works at the Comedy Store.
Works at the Comedy Store, and Eleanor and I were at the Comedy Store talking about it, and she says, it really depressed Freddie. And it was frustrating for Freddie, who was trying to make that next jump in his career, and here's Mencia, using his material on Mind of Mencia to continue to make more and more money. Part of what killed Freddie was Mencia.
The aggravation.
And just, here's Freddie, struggling to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And here's Mencia using his bits and his material to continue to get richer and richer and richer. And here's Freddie going, shit, man, I'm just trying to pay the bills. And just the stress of that and the pressure. And what are you going to do? You're going to call him out? What does that accomplish?
And what happened after Freddie died?
Freddie died, and like a week later, Mencia was doing Freddie's bits verbatim on stage at the Improv. And Dee, one of the managers, and Rita, the other manager, in the hallway are in this huge debate and argument whether to cut his mic or not. And Dee is like, you got to cut his mic. Like, this is ridiculous. Freddie just died, and he's doing his bits. And Rita was like, he's Carlos Mencia. And of course, this was at the height of, Mind of Mencia.
Yeah. Now, you wrote for that show.
I wrote on the first season of that show, yeah.
Now, so you're back, you're rolling with Carlos for a few years. And what was your experience with that? With it, now that you knew the rumors, and, what was your experience with that?
Well, the way that he would put it was, like he would take a joke from me, or I'd come up with a premise and I'd pitch it to him, and then he would do it on stage, and he'd go, bro, you work for me.
Uh-huh.
I pay you.
So you would pitch jokes that you were working on for yourself?
For myself, right? I'd go, oh man, I got this idea about X, Y, and Z, and he'd go, let me show you how to do it.
Uh-huh.
And then he'd go on stage and do it, and before he knew it, it was gone. It was no longer mine. But at the time, he would go, look, man, I pay you week in, week out. I'm your income. So basically, you're writing for me. So if I take something from you,
it's legit.
It's legit.
Most hatred that comes from me personally, there's a story about me bumping them or pushing them, or that they had a spot at 10 and they didn't go on because
you were
I showed
famous
up.
for doing that.
Oh yeah, that I did.
Oh, and you don't deny that. You say you were an asshole at one point.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. But not an asshole, because I was following the rules. Just the rules changed. You know what I mean? That
when you say rules, culture. This was the culture at the time.
The culture was
the best guys showed up, and it doesn't matter who was there. You're off the list.
Doesn't matter. Yeah. So, but I started getting why is he going on? Even like if you listen to Mark Maron's podcast.
Yeah.
The WTF podcast.
Yep.
It starts off with, here's the story. I was at the Improv. I had a spot. That I totally did do. And I did it with impunity.
Now, I got to tell you at this juncture what happened. What happened was, after I sat with Carlos in the garage, I felt something felt wrong. I felt that I somehow or another I was being used in a way, and it was disconcerting to me. So I had to do some more homework, and I talked to Al Madrigal. I talked to a few guys, who didn't. People aren't chiming in the way that, like, fuck him or this or that. But basically, what I got from people was like, yeah, you should do a little more research here. This is a little bigger than you think it is. You should talk to some of the Latino guys. You should talk to people that know Carlos. And I thought, you know what? I should. So I reached out to some people because, like, look, honestly, there was something about that conversation that didn't sit well with me. That, at the core of Carlos's being, there's a sort of, fuck you, fuck you. I win. There's something about that in there. And then, he sort of alluded to, maybe taking jokes. And then there's the whole issue of bumping people. And that, that's the fucked up thing is, like, after I talked to him, like, holy shit, he did that to me. He bumped me once a few years back. I was headlining at the Improv. My name was on the marquee, and he came in, and because he was who he was, he said, you don't mind if I do a few minutes? And I had no choice. So he went up and did about almost an hour, and I left. Because that's fucked up. All right. Now, first off, I got a personal thing that I didn't bring up before, but it came up numerous times, and I want to know what you say about it. Now, granted, I'm willing to let you be an asshole. All right. I'm willing to know that you obviously did what you had to do to get where you are, and there is a certain power trip about it. I understand that.
Sure.
Okay. One time I was doing the Improv, I was headlining.
Yeah.
And you came and bumped me and did like 45, 50 minutes. Now, and then I left because I was like, fuck that, fuck him.
Right.
Okay. Now I see that this is a pattern that, you bump headliners and you do an hour to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Now, is this a territorial thing? Are you saying, fuck you? This is, I'm the boss. Be honest.
I'll be honest with you, man. Remember last time we were talking, that's what happened to me. You know what I mean? Eddie Griffin didn't
Well,
but
he's the one guy.
No, man.
For an hour? At the comedy store.
At the comedy store?
Are you telling me there's no territoriality to you saying, fuck you, who's the biggest dick in town?
No, it's my only way of dealing with, it's my only way of dealing with how hateful. You know what I mean?
So you're saying that you do it out of spite?
Yeah, I do.
So what's your beef with me? Why'd you go teach me a lesson?
Well, that's fucking, that just like me being an asshole and me being, you know what I mean, taking it, just, it's one of those things where, especially before, man, it was like, I felt like, especially guys like you know what I mean, who came from that different school. You know what I mean, of
you
comedy.
Wanted to school me.
Who came to, not school you, as much as like, fuck you.
Okay.
My comedy isn't to be shit on. You know what I mean? Okay, so you do alternative, you do something different.
But I didn't personally shit on you.
Oh, no, you never did.
But you were making an example.
But dude, like, think about how difficult it is as a human being for me. You know what I mean?
Guy, he's not the nicest guy. I've known him forever. About 15, 18 years ago, I did a show with all these young comics. We were all young back then, 18, 19 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And it was like it was a Cinco de Mayo with all these Hispanic comics. And then I remember Carlos coming up to me and going, hey, I know why you did this. And I was doing it because I wanted to have a venue, man. I did it, and the place doesn't even no longer exist. It was called Carlos and Charlie's back then on Sunset.
Oh, yeah.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so I remember Carlos pulled me aside and he was like, I know why you're doing this, man. And I go, why am I doing this, Carlos? He goes, because you want to show everybody that out of all the Hispanic comedians, you're the best. He goes, well, you're not the best. I'm the best. I go, what are you talking about, dude? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's that guy.
Here's a great story for you since we're on it. Just remember, here's the kind of guy he is. My first week ever to headline, I get booked at the Ontario Improv. And I'm super stoked because it's like, man, real money now. You know, you're getting paid, that bump in pay and this is the real deal, And of course I'm a little nervous because I'm like, I don't know if I have 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I know I can kill for the 15, 20 I've been doing, but so this is a big deal for me.
Yeah.
Mencia shows up, right? And right before I go on stage, he goes, hey, I want to go up, do a few minutes. And I go, absolutely, right? No problem. I walk on stage and I go, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Ladies and gentlemen, Carlos Mencia. He walks on stage and does 2 hours. I never go up.
And your name's on the marquee.
And my name's on the marquee. It's my first week to headline. First night to headline. 2 hours. And then he goes, hey, let's get Steve, let's get Steve back up here. And I go, dude, I'm not going up. I'm not following 2 hours of you.
Yeah, he did that to me once.
Yeah. It's just amazing. And actually, that's the last conversation. Me and Ari Spears and Mencia were in the parking lot. And I go, dude, there's a way to do it. There's a way to bump people. And he goes, what? Who cares? I'm Carlos Mencia.
When I talked to Steve, you guys were friends. He has empathy. He has his beefs. He said you bumped him down in Anaheim and did 2 hours on the first time he headlined.
Bro, let me tell you about Steve.
Did you go to the Ontario Improv when he was
headlining?
Yeah.
I don't remember that. No, I swear to God, I don't. Because I would tell you if I did.
But it's possible. It's possible.
It's possible that I did it. It's not possible that I did 2 hours. That I wouldn't do. No way would I do 2 hours.
Maybe an hour.
Headliner.
Yes.
You know what?
You did 50 minutes in front of me. I know it. And
yeah, but that's different because it's the improv like here. It's not 1, 2, 3 improv. But then again, I grew up at the Comedy Store. I didn't show up at the Comedy Store from Madison, and I was a hot young guy, and 5, 6 years into it, when I'm good, I showed up. I started in the petri dish of comedy. So I didn't get to shed those years of, being some other comedian at some other place. I did it on the stage at the Comedy Store on Sunset Boulevard for everybody to see. So that part, yeah, the going on before other people part, yeah. But I felt like I deserved it because I paid the price myself. I stayed, my brother can tell you, my wife can tell you, I'd come home at 3 o'clock in the morning because I had a spot at 1 in front of 8 drunk people. That's how I built my chops. So that part is the part that I had to deal with. The part that I know that I can embrace. And by the way, if I had taken a bunch of other people's stuff, I would have wanted to apologize. The whole thing was.
So you're still saying you haven't?
No, I just told you what I did, right?
You're saying what your answer was. My interpretation of what you said is
when I first started doing stand-up,
what everybody else was doing.
No.
That's kind of your answer.
No. What I'm saying is when I first started doing comedy, I was a version of a bunch of comedians that worked at the comedy clubs because I didn't want to be. I didn't know about stand-up until I started doing stand-up. So I wasn't Chris Rock, who was doing Richard Pryor, right? Yeah. Who he'll say, I was doing Richard Pryor. But nobody says, well, that's stealing. It's like, oh, you're emulating. I emulated a bunch of these young guys.
The comparison to me is, you look at a Joe Rogan, who gets up and he says, this guy steals jokes. Why don't you go say something? I'm afraid. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not, the one of the comedians like, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to confront him. No, I'm not going to say anything. Go. It says, this is why guys like Carlos Mencia get away, right? With being able to steal jokes from guys like you. They come, they listen, they take your jokes, they go, they're bigger, no one knows who you are, right?
Right.
So either Joe is a pathological liar, he's either a sociopath,
right,
or he's telling the truth.
Right.
Which one is in your eyes?
Or he had a personal problem with me.
Why would he have a problem?
We used to be friends.
But
we used to be pretty decent friends at one point. I can't answer that question. And I don't, whatever theories I have at this point, it's a negative thing to bring up. If you ever interview some of the people that open for me, right? Guys like Bobby Lee, guys like Joe Coy, guys like Brad Williams, anyway, a bunch of them. And you ask them, why didn't you defend Carlos at the time? And they would have told you it was, at the time, toxic to even like me, to even defend me. Bobby Lee actually put up a video.
Hey, I'm Bobby Lee. I've known Carlos Mencia about 11 years. I've been opening for him since the 90s. He's one of my best friends, and I've never seen him steal a joke. He never stole a joke from me, and I don't know where Joe Rogan gets the information that I called him to tell him that Carlos steals, because I never called Joe. And that the feud between Carlos and Ari is strange only because of the fact that a couple years ago, Ari and I had a feud. And I told Carlos about what he had done to me. Carlos didn't hire Ari for a sketch because Carlos is my boy, and he was probably one of the only guys to back me up during that time period. And so just Ari is just mad, you know what I mean? Because of that, and it has really nothing to do with that joke. And let me tell you, that joke I've seen Carlos do about the Mexicans building the fence for a very, very long time, even before I've seen Ari do it. So I'm really kind of confused about that. I have no ill will toward really anyone. I want to stay out of it. But it's getting out of control. It's high school shit, and that's that.
He did a video saying that this happened. He got so much hate in one day from that video, from the truth, from his truth, that he said, I can't be a part of this. I can't take it. I can't. And so this is something that I've been dealing with just recently, because if I'm not mistaken, somebody asked Joe, what is the difference between Carlos and Dane and Amy? And he said, well, people defended those others. Nobody defended Ned because they couldn't. And you know what I've had to realize recently, I used to think, there was nobody out there to defend me. But now I have to kind of deal with the fact that some of the people that I helped really get to, to grow as comedians were not there for me at that time, for whatever reason.
Because that video plagued me.
For real?
Yeah, because this is how that happened. So Joe puts out that montage video of Mencia stealing and whatnot. So I'm at the Comedy Store, and Brian Redban at the time wasn't Brian Redban of today. Brian Redban was Joe Rogan's guy. His video autographer, his podcast guy, everything. And Brian Redban would always have a camera just on, right? And so I'm walking at night, like I always do, and somebody asked me, "What about Mencia stealing?" I don't see the camera.
Was this the same night that this whole thing went down? Or?
No, it was a collage of a bunch of different nights.
Oh, so it was a different night,
right?
Oh.
So and I said, I didn't know there was a camera there, and they said, "But Mencia stealing?" I go, "Yeah, he steals or whatever, you know."
Doing Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee's his friend.
I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is.
That's Ned Holness.
Oh, I know Ned Holness. Yeah, he's really good. Hey, does all that stuff?
How's he doing?
Hey,
white
all that stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, Ned.
Do a couple minutes of his material.
Well, I'll just do some of my material, and then it'll be the same. You know, so I'll just talk about myself.
What has he ever stolen from you?
I used to do this bit about how I was so small that my dad would have to get on my shoulders to get on a ride at Disneyland.
Right.
Then he did a bit, literally, but this is I can't do it. But where is this going?
Who cares? What the fuck? It's reality.
Anyway, it's good to see you. Then I noticed the thing, and then I go to Brian. I go, "Don't put that out there." And Brian goes, "No, I mean Joe makes the final decision, but we're probably not." It is right. Mm-hmm. So here's the fucked part. So that video comes out. Now I can do one or two things: call Mencia and apologize profusely, or avoid him, right? And I couldn't do the second option because Mad TV was attached to the Mind of Mencia. We shared the same studio.
Really?
On Hollywood Center Studios. So stage whatever are connected, right? So I'm sitting in my dressing room, and I get a knock on the door.
Oh wait, you shot that at Hollywood Center Studios?
Yes.
Of course you did.
Yes.
Of course you fucking did.
And it was
my first TV show shot there.
Yeah.
Of course you did.
Now you can see the steps and
I see the steps and the back wall and the railing.
Yeah.
Of course you fucking did.
Yeah. And then it wasn't Ned. It was his cousins and his brothers. Hey, bro, the video's out, bro. I go, yeah. I didn't do it. You know, I'm a coward. I'm a coward, right? It
wasn't me.
Yeah, me too.
I said not to put it on, and then they put it out. Right? Like in that way. Well, you got to do a rebuttal, bro. I go, but I don't want to. You have to, dude. Ned wants it. So Carlos comes. They put me on those stairs.
Wait, did you call him, when you talked to him, did you call him Carlos or Ned? In life?
Ned.
In life?
Oh, yeah, always.
Really?
Yeah. He discovered me.
Really?
Yeah. Mencia without Mencia, I wouldn't have an agent or anything. My ties with him were really deep.
Oh, wow.
And so when that video came out, it was hurtful to me because I feel like I betrayed a friend. Mm-hmm. But what I said, was that true? Yes.
Yeah.
So now I'm caught in a thing.
Oh, dude.
So then
you're explaining me and the Jay Moore shit.
Yeah.
That's me and Jay.
Yeah. So then he goes, "Come on, do a video," and I was like, I have to. So that's why when you see it, I'm like, it was pensive and whatnot. But when that came out, if you read the comments when they came out,
I saw them.
It was brutal.
Yeah, I know. I saw.
Yeah.
So I definitely. You think I was a young comic?
Yeah.
You don't think I came out
like you're done in comedy, you rat, you piece of shit? I mean, It went. I mean, not
There's a
just
weird
5
thing.
or 10. I'm talking thousands.
Doing this interview in this way. This is hashing up stuff that for some people is in the past, for some people is long ago, whatever it is. Listen, I get it, but I've always been truthful with regards to how I come about this. And listen, for me to say that I took time from these young comics, that's a horrible thing.
So just to so
my point to you is I'm not fearful of saying
this is the last question.
I've been a joke thief.
You
if that was the
never
case.
stole a joke. Never.
That's not what I'm saying. When I was a young comic, not only did I steal jokes, I emulated these guys. I did it the way Paul Rodriguez did it. I did it the way Freddie Prinze did it. I did it the way George Carlin did it. But I was a young comedian learning how to be a comedian. So that was the beginning of my... Once I started to become Carlos, you know what I mean? However long that took, then it became me, my jokes, my personality, my thing, my thinking, my process. So that's what I'm saying. But when I was doing mine in Mencia, no, I was not taking young comic stuff. I wasn't even at comedy clubs long enough before or after my performances to do. You know what I would do when I was doing mine in Mencia? I'd go to the Laugh Factory, do a whatever long minute set, and then I'd go to the Comedy Store, and then I'd go to the Improv, and then I'd go home. I wasn't watching other comics. I wasn't seeing what they were doing. I didn't know what they were doing. I had no clue what they were doing. You know what I mean? So
I'll walk into the Comedy Store, dude, after legends walk in there.
Right.
At like 1 o'clock in the morning in front of 12 drunk people.
Sure.
And I'll get a standing ovation.
Right.
Because I love that place. I mean, it just, dude, it's just, oh.
Yeah.
And then all the comics walk. That's where I got the nickname The Punisher.
Right.
I got the nickname The Punisher because who was in there? Oh yeah.
Let me make this up real quick. Oh yeah. First of all, nobody calls that guy the Punisher. They call him the phony Mexican, or they call him Carlos Mencia. That's all anybody calls him. If you go to the Comedy Store, that's what you hear. Oh, dude, the phony Mexican's here. Or Carlos Mencia's here. And what happens, everybody gets nervous because Carlos sits in the back of the room with a fucking tape recorder and watches people's sets.
No, man.
I mean, it's like, whatever.
The only thing I don't like is I don't like when he's around when I'm working in material. and listen, bro, I have no problem. Like I said, hatred is wasted energy or anger and all that. But the manager right now at the Improv, the guy who runs the showroom on Melrose, he'll tell you, I was there about a year ago, and I have all my notes, right? All my new notes, all these new bits I'm working on.
Yeah.
And then I see Carlos walk in, and I go, hey, everybody, Carlos Mencia's here. And then everybody clapped. And I said, you guys want to see him? And everybody clapped, right? I said, Carlos, come up here.
And he got off.
Yeah, he got. And then the manager goes, hey, I know why you did that, dude. I said, hey, dude, people love Carlos.
Yeah. That's a beautiful story because, there's a lot of guys that won't go on stage in front of him.
Because that's why, like, when I start off, I watch, if there's a feature in front of me, I watch the whole show. The first night I have to watch the whole show to see what this guy does. Mm-hmm. After he does it, then I show him what I do. I go, and he might say some shit that I go, fuck. I never go, hey, I'm going to outrank your comedy because I do a bit like that. I'm going to outrank your comedy because I feel like I've written enough. So I go, okay, you do that. Okay, this guy does that. Now let me show him what I do. And we all know we're not going to step on each other's toes. Uh-huh. Sometimes there's middles that want to show me that they got a bit like that too. I just want to show you. It's like, didn't you see what the fuck I do? I don't give a fuck that you have a bit like that and you want to show me that you're genius, you fucking dickhead. I'm telling you, I watched you to go, that I'm not going to step on, because I could have showed you.
Right.
And do it better, you fucking middle.
You guys got to work together to make the show real good.
But that's what I'm saying. There's respect that you want to have in this game. And Carlos just said, fuck the game.
That was the worst I've ever seen, though. I've seen plagiarists before. I've seen guys get away with stealing people's shit, but I've never seen someone that blatant. He was a bully about it. Like, he would do your shit. He would go on in front of you and do your shit. Like, he would bring you up at the store and do your closing bit before he brought you up.
Man.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things like a serial killer wants to get caught. You know?
You think that's what it is?
Yeah, I do. I really do.
So funny is funny. They all know our sets. They know exactly what we're going to be doing. Matter of fact, Freddie was one of the writers on it. So Freddie knew everybody's sets on top of it.
Subtle, yeah.
So what basically they were doing was they don't want the host to step on anybody's material while, the shows are going. So they tell him, so-and-so's talking about this. So Carlos was hosting. And they knew that I think I was last on that. Myself and the other guy.
You were really late.
On the show, yeah.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had this killer closer bit called Parking in My Parking.
One of the best jokes I've ever heard.
It was literally 5 minutes long.
Amazing.
It was about this Persian guy who was screaming at everybody because someone was parked behind his car, and he was just screaming out, "Who's parking in my parking?" From different person, he was calling the apartment intercom. You know the intercom set at the bottom? And people, they don't even know who's calling. They'd be like, "Hello?" He's like, "Is this your parking? In my fucking parking? Who's parking in my parking?" So it was my closer bit.
Destroy
the room.
Destroy.
And this was early, dude. You got to remember, this is late 90s, where this is pre 9/11. People, stuff like that was just fun and fodder for everyone.
It was great.
So Carlos knows this. So in between the transition that I'm going to be on the next show, there was two of us on the next show. So they're going to bring up this one guy and whatever. So in between, they're going to bring up, did they bring up the first guy? And then
I don't fucking remember, dude.
I can't remember where he did it. But basically, I'm up next, and he decides to do this bit on Iraq.
Yeah.
The Iraq War, and he goes into this, and first of all, everybody's like, remember Pat Buckles comes running and goes, what the fuck is he doing? Because that wasn't anything that he had told them. So they already knew, but he does 3-4 minutes on, you got that here, my friend. No, fuck you, my friend. So he's wearing this accent out.
Oh.
Now, I know what the fuck he's doing. We all know what the fuck he's doing, but he played like he didn't know. Oh, fuck, that's right.
Right.
Fucking Johnny's got that fuck. So, the only way, I wasn't even going to go on. I said, well, fuck it then.
Oh, you were livid. That's how I remember.
I was like, I'm just going to leave right now. We were at the Melrose Improv. I was like, I was just getting ready to walk out. I said, fuck it. So they said, okay, here's what he's going to go up to the audience and he's going to explain it to them. So this was, I don't even know if this made it better or worse.
I think it made it worse.
But in between, he goes, hey, look, fuckers. So that bit that I just did, the dude coming up next has something similar to what I was doing. similar to what you were doing. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You know I had that bit for years.
Yeah.
Oh, it made it worse then.
Wow.
So then so he goes, so just laugh. Give it up. Don't think about fucking me and my fucking thing.
Oh.
Right. It's crazy.
Anyway.
I know.
And then there's times where you're like, dude, why did you do that?
Right.
I remember watching him do a bit, and I thought to myself, this guy's the greatest comedian ever, because first he tells me the idea. I got this idea for a bit.
Yeah.
And then that night he does like 20 minutes on that subject, and I'm like, this guy's amazing.
Yeah.
Then I'm watching Comedy Central, and I realize that it's a Jim Gaffigan bit.
Uh-huh. So now the Cosby thing, I talked to Mencia about that, and he said, "Look, I'm not going to steal from an icon."
He told me that he had never seen Bill Cosby himself.
Uh-huh.
That special.
Uh-huh.
Because I had called him out. That day when we were filming that special, I was on set. I was there for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Me and all the writers from the Mind of Mencia. And the first person that I contacted was Jeff Schimmel.
Mm-hmm.
And I told Jeff Schimmel, I said, dude.
The other writer?
One of the writers.
Yeah.
Robert Schimmel's brother.
Yeah.
And I told Jeff, I said, this guy is doing Bill Cosby. He's got to stop.
Yeah. That bit.
Yeah, that bit. This is ridiculous. We went over to Mencia's agent, his managers, and I told them all. I said, look, people already think he's a thief. He's already in trouble for that. It's going to look bad on him. Tell him to stop. And this is me being Mencia's friend.
Yeah.
Trying to look out for the guy.
Yeah.
And there we are the day of, and he goes into it, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And then, of course, when the writers went in to edit the special, they edited that out.
Right.
And then later on, when Rogan found it, it was because they did the unedited version.
The DVD.
The DVD. And then it came out. But it was like, come on, dude. And then Mencia looks at me in the face and goes, I've never seen Bill Cosby himself.
And I agree with Patrice, though, because Carlos is a likable guy. Like,
like we flew together. I forget where I was. We were on the same plane together, and we were just kind of walking a baggage claim together. And it's like he was talking about stealing on something. He said something about a Cosby bit. He's like, I did it, and then someone said the Cosby. He just started talking about it.
Yeah, but
he's
he
like,
said he never
all right,
saw
you
the
talk.
Cosby bit.
All right, now you talk. You would.
All right,
Jay. That's all right. I just talked to him. I'm just teasing him. I know Ernest Eager.
All right, Jay. Thank you. Let Jim Norton finish. Hey, what happened?
No, I don't know when this was filmed, but he said something about a Cosby bit, and he goes, and I did it. And maybe he didn't say so. Maybe he said somebody told him about it. He might have said that. I don't want to misquote the guy. And he said, and I was like, holy shit, I can't believe I did it. He was like making, like saying, like
he didn't know at the time.
That's what he was saying to me.
It's an all-time Cosby bit. Look, I let it go because people have thoughts that are similar, but it's an all-timer. It's from his.
Which Cosby bit?
You grab the boy when he's like this. See, you say, "Come here, boy." 2 years old, you say, "Get down. Dad, show you how to do it." Now you come at me, run through me. There, see, get back up, get back up. See, you didn't do it right. Now come at me. See, now, and you teach him, see, you say, now go, attack that tree, bite it, come on back, bite it again. You teach him all that, tackle me, bam! And then soon he's bigger and he's stronger and he can hit you and you don't want him to hit you anymore. You say, all right, son, turn him loose on high school, and he's running up and down the field, high school, touchdown, 800 touchdowns per game. You say, yes, that's my son. And he goes to a big college, playing for a big school, 3 million students and 800,000 people in the stand, national TV, and he catches the ball and he doesn't even bother to get out of the way, he just runs over everybody. For a TD and turn around and the camera's on him and you're looking and he says, hi, Mom. Well, you don't mind that. You know who taught him.
He gives him a football and he shows him how to pass it. He shows him every day how to pass that football, how to 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drop. He shows him how to throw the bomb, how to throw the out, how to throw the hook, how to throw the corner. He shows this little kid everything that he needs to know about how to be a great quarterback. He even moves from one city to the other so that kid could be in a better high school. Then that kid goes to college, and that man is still, every single game that dad is right there, and he's in college getting better. He wins a Heisman Trophy. He ends up in the NFL. 5 years later, he ends up in the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl. He gets the MVP of the Super Bowl. And when the cameras come up to him and say, you got anything to say to the camera? I love you, Mom. That bitch never played catch with you.
I don't know. It's, look, like I said, man, it pains me. I would have no problem whatsoever telling the truth.
I'm not in the world. If I was in the world, I would say, okay, if somebody's watching this right now, they're a comedian, they're saying, well, Carlos stole my joke in 2004 and he did this. So you're saying there's no one that's going to watch it that's going to say, Carlos at one point took my joke and he told it at a big. You're saying no one's going to come out and say that's what happened.
I hope so that I could go back and pull out a tape from 2004, 2003, and I could say, oh my God, you're right, you did do it before. My sincerest apologies.
But that's the engineer side of you, that answer. That's a political. You just gave a very brilliant. That shows the brains, because you're a very smart guy. You're not you're a brilliant guy yourself.
But that's my point. But if I'm that smart, why am I taking other people's jokes, especially after being accused of doing so? It doesn't make any sense.
I look at a guy like you. I've been in rooms where I have guys that are brilliant people, semi-genius. Let me make the point, semi-genius.
Sure, I understand.
But sometimes a guy that's semi-genius, I don't know why. The more talented people are, sometimes they're lazier. If you are that confident in what you're doing, because if you go on Twitter right now and you say, Joe, it's been 15 years. I want to know why you were so mad at me.
Right.
I'm willing to come ask me any question you want.
I have no problem doing that.
Have you done that?
No.
I'd love to see you do, because
But I've done it, like I said, through proxies.
But this is
I've
a big
done it
difference.
through friends of his that I befriended and said, hey, reach out to him.
This is a big difference.
I'll do
because,
it. Yeah.
Look, I mean, guess where the world wants to see you at? Only one place. I mean, your world only wants to see you. They don't want to see you here. I'm not in your world.
Right.
I'm just a guy that's, from the outside. I'm running a business guy.
I understand.
But I tell you, if you send that message out, here's what's going to happen all of a sudden. Next thing you know, like, wait. What did he just say?
Right.
Now you got 1,000 retweets. 2,000. You put it on Instagram. 3,000. Tag Joe Rogan. Joe's people are going to contact you.
All right.
And they're going to say, come on down. then that's going to get 20 million views. And if he calls you out, the viewers are going to make a decision and they're going to say, shit, you know what? I believe him. Or they're going to say, dude, Rogan called him out on that 3 things that he knows that nobody else knows. And he finally said, yes, you're right. I did do those 3 things. And at the end, they shook hands, they walked off. Freaking awesome. Now let's see what we're going to do next.
I don't have a problem with that.
I think you ought to do it. And but again, pro bono. I'm not asking you for anything. here.
He means it. He
Stay
means
consistent.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I believe him. But is Andrew like number 7? I'm just curious.
I think Andrew now is in my top 10 as well. We have to go now because I have to talk about something else.
Hey, Griff.
Oh,
we love you.
brother, here we go.
We love you.
Here we go, Eric, getting offended and getting sensitive.
Talk about who just texted you.
All right, so here's, this is very sensitive, but I have to call him back. You know, in fact, I don't think I should call him online, live, but no.
Why not? Tell him, can I call you live on my show? Ask, can I call you live on my show? Well, while you're sending that text, tell everyone who you're talking about.
Okay, I'm talking about Carlos Mencia here.
And what happened?
I don't know if people know this, but for the first 6 years of my stand-up career as an open micer, I used to open for Carlos Mencia.
Yeah.
I probably did over 500 shows with him when I was young. I went all over the country.
Wow.
And, you know, I used to open for him and Pauly Shore.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to those 2 people specifically, I get a little sensitive because, you know, I know things about them that other people don't know, obviously, you know. So, you know, I've been talking about him on Tiger Belly and some other things, and he's been in comedy jail for a long time.
2 decades.
15 years.
Okay, 2 decades minus 5.
Yeah. And his argument, you know, his argument has always been him defending his position about stealing jokes, about what bits. All right. And my argument has always been that even if you did it 2 or 3 times or whatever it might be, I don't know exactly the number, right? I don't know what I don't know why you're smiling.
I'm not smiling. You're smiling. I'm smiling because I don't know what the number is.
Yeah, I don't know what specifically the number is.
I'm being very genuine. I don't care. I mean, I don't know because I don't care.
Thank you.
I just don't.
Regardless of what the number is
Right.
that you should just do a blanket statement, right? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right? Because there have been times where I had seen him write a bunch of bits on his own, work shit out. Right?
You're saying he didn't steal everything.
Yeah, I think that the thing is that people
think he
even
did.
today, right? Even if when he's on stage, they think that everything that he's saying, he's stealing, which is impossible because he doesn't do open mics, and you know what I mean. He doesn't, you know, go. I don't think he sees enough people do live stand up, right, for him to steal. You know, and I think he's very sensitive about it now, right? So he's a little bit more paranoid about what bits he puts out there, but still everything that he does now is under the lens of he's stealing everything, which is, I don't think is the case. But the problem is that by him defending specific bits from the past, right, gets him in trouble because, you know, instead of defending the bits that you claim that you wrote, just let it all go. Do a blanket statement that I used to steal. I'm so fucking sorry. I will make amends for that. And to move on, I think is the best way to go. And that's what the conversation was outside.
And what did he say? When you said you should just say sorry?
It hurts his heart.
To say sorry.
To say sorry to all of it.
To admit that he was stealing?
I think that he admits to stealing some, but not all. And I just think that...
What hurts? I don't understand. It hurts to say... It hurts
because there are bits that people are accusing him of stealing that he didn't steal.
Right.
In his opinion.
Oh, okay. I get it now.
And I think that... And that's pretty much the conversation that I have with him. Listen,
but he's not going to say sorry is what he's saying?
No, I think that he is now at a point where he is going to say sorry.
He's going to go on Rogan and do it?
I don't think that Rogan would have him.
It'd be crazy if he did, though, huh?
Yeah, it'd be great
if he went on there and was like, "Hey, let's talk about it."
I think Ned would be open to doing it as well.
Oh, he should. I mean, I don't know if Joe would ever do that, but man, would it be amazing to watch. For people that don't know what we're talking about, Carlos Mencia and Joe Rogan got into an argument at the Comedy Store 15 some odd years ago about stealing jokes, and the clip went viral. This is before viral was a real thing, by the way. That kind of was like on the precipice
It was
of
one
the
of the
internet.
first viral. In fact, what was scary about it is that I got caught in the middle of it. And
yeah, you were. You're in the video on the patio.
I was on the video on the patio, and everyone knows that was his opener. So it's like, when that happened, I was getting a lot of messages myself saying that you're a thief too, or you piece of shit.
You've never stolen
anything,
ever. Because everything you've done is so bad that who could you steal that from? It's such trash.
I love it.
No, of course
what
not.
you're doing, but
no, dude. You of course. But the point is, you got roped into a weird thing, and
I was caught. And so what I had to do back then was I had to literally cut ties. I had to cut ties with Carlos.
Well, let's finish what happened for people that don't know. I'm sure most people know, but what happened was the Comedy Store chose Carlos over Rogan. Rogan was, in so many words, I don't know if he was banned, but he didn't come back around. It was almost like the store leaned towards Carlos, and that divided the store a little bit.
That was a real that time. I was an open micer back then and young, and that was a real fucking difficult time because it's like. I was friends with Joe Jogan as well. I was, with Buff Eyes as well. I loved him, and I had to cut ties with somebody that helped me out a lot. And I've only seen him since then maybe 5 times.
Damn.
I never had him on Tiger Belly ever because of the fact that George. I didn't ever want to bring it up, but he just said, "I want to hash it out." So we'll have him on Tiger Belly and
talk about it. Jesus Christ.
Just make sure the young wolf in you takes care of the old wolf you'll one day be. He says, because I'm an old wolf now, I don't have the level of ambition I had when I was younger. Right. Just make sure you take care of the old you. My suggestion to you is to take care of the 72-year-old Carlos Mencia. That's all it is, man. It's not the 52, it's anything.
I've been trying to, bro.
So, and I'm glad you're doing that. I think it's, I've had a lot of friends who have gone through some challenging times, and therapy's helped a ton.
It stopped me from suicide.